It was a horrific time for our nation.
It's American history, it's Oklahoma history, it's the history of the city.
Well, good evening and thanks for joining. It's the 102nd day since the national emergency has been called. It's the 30th day, the public display of civil unrest. And today is the second day of New York City going to phase 2. Tonight's show really is beyond, but Thursday's show is also as well shaping up to be an amazing show, and I'm going to tell you why. Busy weekend, right? Was there any moment of this weekend where there wasn't something just major happening? And fireworks. Are you guys getting the fireworks? Okay, enough with the fireworks. I appreciate them. I really do, in their place. But, so, it was also Father's Day. So, of course, there's a photo of my dad and I and brother Daniel. It's hard to tell when he's dressed up like that if that's Daniel or Matt. Matt's a little bit taller. And then someone's pet giraffe there came into the photo. We had a great cookout for Father's Day. Grilled sardines and grilled mackerel. It was kind of a Portuguese affair. We had this beautiful bread to put the fish on. Really amazing. And then, I'm serious, tell me if Kate did not totally outdo herself with this coconut cream pie. Look at this coconut cream pie. This looks like something that you would buy in the best bakery in the world. And it tasted like something you would buy in the best bakery in the world. And then, of course, well, today, this is the story of Father's Day and of today. Today, voting day, of course, here in New York City. And there is my new Father's Day mask. I'm using the Art Robinson 3x5 card method now of hosting the show. And so far, it's going fantastically well. Phase 2 in New York. Definitely you can see here, New York City and Long Island are phase 2. I think Long Island is getting ready to go phase 3. The rest of the state is phase 3 already. And taking a look, some of the things that are now opening because of phase 2, the salons and barbershops, car dealerships, some of the playgrounds. This was really important. I don't know what it was like in your community, but there was a lot of back and forth about the playgrounds. So now the playgrounds are going to be open with social distancing ambassadors. And the subway, the MTA, is expecting to officially cross the 1 million rider threshold this week. Okay, I don't know what to think about that. That is a stunning number. So here at Dispatches, of course, during this first phase of the pandemic, we've been gathering, and our 3 H's have been hunker, hug, and haven. But now we're exploring, because we're moving ahead into phase 2. Right now we're talking about 3 M's: mask, maintain, and multiple hand washings. I don't know. What do you think? Can we rally around that? Kate sent this to everyone in the family. Barcelona Opera came back. The quartet that opened, this was on NPR, played to an auditorium full of plants. The governor had a lot to say about what's going on. Let's give a listen, and then we're moving on.
It's 20 states are on the increase. And then compare that to New York, where we are on the decrease, day after day after day. We've been on the decrease for the past 60 days. 2 months of decline, they're going up now. How do you explain that? What happened with this virus? What happened with this pandemic? From the get-go, was always going to be dependent on what we did. There was no preordained path. There was no preordained curve. Nobody knew. I spoke to every expert on the globe. Nobody knew. Second myth.
The thing that I really appreciated about that whole speech, but the thing that it came down to was it was what we do. It was us, you know? It was us wearing the masks. It was us staying home. It was us washing our hands. Those are the things that flattened the curve. And I think that it's going to be really important for us to remember that. We have this awesome clip. We're going to see this film in 2 parts. We're going to see part 1 today. We have a fantastic speaker with us on Thursday. This is about the race massacre in Tulsa in 1921. On Thursday, we're going to have a guest with us, Jamie Lomax. And Jamie Lomax now is the Director of Organizational Learning and Equity. That is the important word, I think, equity. But I found this on her LinkedIn page, and I just wanted to share it. I'm so excited about having her on Thursday. This was a quote on her LinkedIn page. Go to the people, live with them, learn from them, love them. Start with what they know. Build on what they have. But of the best leaders, when the work is done, the task accomplished, the people will say, we have done this ourselves. Lao Tzu, right? Amazing. And that's on our LinkedIn page. So I'm looking forward on Thursday to be able to speak with Jamie. But first, let's watch the first half of this film, Tulsa Race Massacre, Then and Now, courtesy of the Tulsa Public Schools.
It was a horrific time for our nation.
It's American history, it's Oklahoma history, it's the history of the city.
An event so terrible, many history books have shamefully left it out.
I was surprised to learn how much my kids did not know.
They're talking about the 1921 Tulsa Race Riot, or as many know it, the Tulsa Race Massacre.
This was our nation's worst race riot.
Michelle Brown is with the Greenwood Cultural Center. Her office sits on the very spot where nearly 40 acres of vibrant, prosperous property was destroyed, and at least 300 innocent African Americans were senselessly killed. It's a repulsive, violent act that is still affecting lives today.
Having not received any type of reparations, just now being at a point where we are truly acknowledging this history, there's a lot of historical trauma that they are experiencing.
Dr. Carlos Hill teaches African and African American studies at the University of Oklahoma.
What had been one of the wealthiest communities, most educated communities, most peaceful communities in the country was destroyed in less than 18 hours.
The hatred overflowed on May 31st, 1921, after a young black man named Dick Rowland entered the Drexel building in downtown Tulsa and stepped aboard an elevator being operated by a white woman named Sarah Page.
Dick Rowland walks into the elevator, Sarah Page is there, the elevator door closes, there's a scream, the door opens again, and she runs out.
Within hours, Rowland had been accused of assault, even rape. He's arrested and placed in the city's jail. Newspapers in town begin to run their version of the story.
Newspapers in Tulsa began to report an assault, and even a rape.
As the story spread through the white neighborhoods, so did the anger.
And there's talk of a lynching, that Vic Rowland's going to be taken from the jail and lynched that night.
A small group of armed African-American men go twice to speak with the sheriff, offering their support to help guard the city jail from the angry massing mob. The sheriff declines both times, but as the men are leaving the second time, a white person confronts the group.
And it tries to take away a gun from one of the men.
The African-American men stand their ground.
And a melee ensues. The gun is fired. A white person is shot. And from that point, as we would say, all hell breaks loose.
The African-American men retreat down the road to the Greenwood district.
And they are followed very closely by the white men.
Gunfire continues to be exchanged between the groups.
When daybreak came, there's an even larger group of whites that have sort of mobilized, and at daybreak they enter into the Greenwood district.
What was a neighborhood of intellect, family values, some of the most successful African Americans in the country, became a war zone.
Began to burn, loot, kill innocent people, bystanders.
African Americans caught in the violent racist attack were killed, their livelihoods wiped from the map.
Their community was destroyed, their homes were destroyed, their businesses were destroyed, their churches were destroyed, their schools were destroyed.
Since then, Tulsa has been left with a scar that is yet to heal, wounds that have caused distrust of city leaders and allowed for systemic racist policies to dictate the lives of African Americans in Tulsa.
So the way that they feel about the police, the way they feel about city officials, the way they feel about being citizens of Tulsa.
Michelle Brown says only in learning the full history of the Tulsa Race Massacre can one begin to see the pain it has caused Tulsans for a century.
When we realize and acknowledge the history, we understand some of what they are experiencing emotionally and mentally and even spiritually.
That's why having the knowledge and courage to educate Tulsa's youth about our history is critical.
For a lot of kids, when they think of topics like segregation, they think of the deep, deep South, and they don't really connect it to Oklahoma and Tulsa.
Shrita Ashley teaches history at Edison Preparatory School. She says educating students about the race massacre helps them self-reflect and grow as young adults.
So, an important story that, I mean, you know, I think we have to say it's an important story, at least that white people haven't been talking about. It's time now that all of us talk about this story, and things like this film are going to help us do that. And then next week, on Thursday, Jamie Lomax is going to be with us, and we'll get to ask her all kinds of questions. Okay, we're all here. Yeah.
I love it.
Listen, I brought them back so I could ask them for a job, and now here I am fumbling with the buttons. Okay. Now we remember these two from the podcast Producers Happy Hour. I looked back. They came on the show on the 1st of May. We were talking about very different things then than we are now. It seems like a lifetime ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. So coming back right after this film we just saw of the race massacre in Tulsa, my first question is going to be, you know, checking in with our industry. What are some of the changes that you guys are hearing about in terms of race?
Well, I mean, I'm very excited to answer this one because there's more resources now than there ever has been. You know, but we have multiple resources on our website, but I just want to start personally. It should always start with us. When I work with a new PM anywhere in the country or hell, the world, the very first thing we discuss is having a diverse set. I ask them to hire as many women and BIPOC as we can. Often it's the first time they've been asked, and I always think of that as like Fantastic. It's the first time you've been asked. Great. Let's talk about it and let's move forward with the plan. And then when I leave, you should be thinking about this too, because many freelance producers and PMs don't realize the hiring power they have when crewing up a job, or the access that we have. We get to choose. So it really should begin with us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Lawerence, you had posted a database?
Yes. Yeah, we spoke about it on one of our episodes. There is a Black in Film database. It's on our website, on a page that we have called Do the Work, and that's where we're kind of posting some resources for people to self-educate and learn about systemic racism. And Christian and I have committed on the show to doing our own work. You know, we're not the yeah, we're not white saviors, you know, so we're learning on our own. And to Christian's point, you know, when all this started to come up and I really got my head around how deep this went, I texted her and I was like, I don't know a Black production supervisor in Los Angeles that I couldn't call up and work with, and that's my fault, right? We can't just assume, well, I haven't seen anybody of color, so they don't exist, I can't hire them. But we have to do the work, because our industry has been so exclusively white for so long that I'm sure there are plenty of people who are just as qualified, just as talented, but they don't think this club is for them because they've been told for decades it's not. So we need to be the ones, to Christian's point, my white privilege is my ability to give great paying jobs to people, to craftspeople. And we have to do the work to put out our hand and get those people into the door and into the conversation. And so, you know, that's what personally for me, how I'm kind of starting to chisel away at this.
And, you know, speaking about that, about the jobs and about our industry, I opened the show talking about New York City moving into phase 2. So, you know, Christian, how, I mean, it's a big thing. I know. The MTA is now saying, you know, they're going to hit 1 million riders. And, you know, I didn't even stop to figure if that meant per day or for a week or what they were talking about. That number just staggers the mind. So
hand washing alone, man.
Yeah, that's a lot of sanitizer. So, like, what are you hearing? What are you feeling?
You know, to be honest, Scott, I'm pretty nervous. Like, I received a call for a job yesterday, and I received a budget, and it was very healthy, but PPE or any, you know, safety considerations, not in there.
Right.
So it's falling on our freelance shoulders to educate the companies, and that is a lot of pressure for us to undertake when, you know, we're not medical experts. I haven't gone to medical school. I just know that people, you know, and imagine following around our crew and making them wash their hands. The point is that you can't police everybody, and you can't follow them home and understand what their practices are. So a lot of this is based on trust, and I'm just not sure if I'm ready to start working with them. It sounds like there are small crews happening, so I'm just still nervous for everybody out there.
Yeah, and Brother Lawerence, what do you think? What's happening in LA?
So we're technically on stage 3. Bars, I think bars are allowed to open. Gyms are allowed to open. Yeah, it's a lot. Nail salons, massage parlors, all of it's kind of coming back online. And we are going through in California a spike in new infection rates. However, the death rates are declining. So, you know, and some new information came out that I've been reading up on, about new information that they've learned about how the disease is transmitted, and it's a little harder to get it than we originally thought back in the beginning of all this. But all this said,
right?
You know, I got offered a couple jobs that the risk did not outweigh the reward. I mean, the reward did not outweigh the risk, because I would get on a plane to go somewhere and stay in some hotel for, you know, a handful of days, production days, and I'm just like, that's not worth it to me. I'm gonna hold out. And I'm hearing about rumblings of jobs. A friend of mine is an executive producer. She was bidding a job, and it was on. The ad agency put it on her directly to to prove to the ad agency and the brand that it's safe to shoot, and here's how we're going to make our set safe. And that was a week of work for them to put that together, and a lot of liability to own. And so it's a little challenging right now out there.
Yeah, okay. And so this is primarily commercials, right? Are we feeling it's the same for TV and film, or do we feel like the structures at the top are a little different for those types of organizations?
But I think film and TV have in common is they're around each other longer, so testing is an option, quarantine is an option, SAG is an option there, where they're not letting their people go on set unless they've been approved, and they can dedicate whole departments to it. Unfortunately, the commercial / content / promo land is a little Wild West right now, and people are doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know some things are starting up. I know RuPaul's Drag Race is starting up in pre-production. I know there are some shows.
Well, that's good. I mean, thank goodness for that.
Goodness. Thank goodness. Yeah,
Kate and I, that's what got Kate and I over the hump. Are you kidding me?
It's like the best
true.
thing on earth.
And I don't know what their plan is. SAG shut down a set, and there was another show that someone had a positive test result. So I think it's a little bit of a jumbled mess right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, jumbled mess. That's where we are right now. It is June 23rd. So I think you guys were in the 30s before. It's now day 102, and we've achieved jumbled mess.
Yes. It's a definitely jumbled mess when you're seeing job postings for PAs at $100 a day for a 12-hour day to be in charge of all the set safety and temperature checks and mask wearing and all that.
Okay.
That's a jumbled mess.
Yeah. Okay. That's a jumbled mess. Okay, but a jumbled mess is a step in the right direction in that we have to go through this in order to figure it out.
Absolutely. And people need the work. I'm not blind to that. So I'm happy people are out there. They're getting work. They're getting paid. There just needs to be some best practices. Yeah. I mean, come on. As producers, jumbled mess is like the beginning of the day. It's like a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
It's an industry-wide problem. At least we have that. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you both for popping on again. We're at Jumbled Mess, and there you go. Please, yes, thank you.
Just letting everyone know.
Thank you for that. You know what, though? I'm just actually glad she kept her shirt on this time. All right, Sister Christian.
Who knew?
Brother
I
Lawerence.
had no idea I was going to, so there you go.
All right. Everybody tuned in to Producers Happy Hour. Thank you both very much. Continue to stay safe, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. God. Oh my gosh, I love those people. I love theater people. I love production people. Okay. Fantastic. Jumbled mess. And the other people that I love on that list are the musicians. Have we got a jam for you tonight? Rohan, you already know. He was here about 3 weeks ago, and Nadeem, he's brand new to us here on Dispatches, but this jam is going to blow you away. These guys rock. That was awesome. Thank you, Rohan and Nadeem. Thank you for that. Oh, that was needed. And thank you, Sister Christian and Brother Lawerence. And thank you to the Tulsa Public Schools for making that video that we saw today. And please, on Thursday, Jamie Lomax is going to be with us. And thank you, Dad, for these cards. Dad used to run, he was the Scoutmaster of Pack 63 in Monroe, Connecticut. He used to run the pack with these 3x5 cards. You just see him thing to thing to thing. We're going on a field trip. He knew we were going on a field trip because a 3x5 card told him. And thank you. Thank you for jamming out with us on this Tuesday night. Be safe. Let me see. Can I get to that? Mask. Maintain. Multiple hand washings. And it doesn't roll off the tongue as easily as hunker, hug, and haven. But you know I love you more. Everybody be safe. Oh, I threw a little governor here at the end on the outro. It's got very New York braggy, but I don't know. I kind of liked it. Be safe.
We changed. We changed what we were doing, and we saved tens of thousands of lives. And that's what America should do. There are two different visions that we're talking about. One is based on science and fact. One is based on political ideology and public relations and politics. And the results are in New York. It's working. We're saving lives. The virus is down. The rest of the nation, it's going up. At the end of the day, New York tough works.